Everyone mocked Elias Vain, the broke delivery worker with impossible property dreams. Minutes later, he died beneath their golden hotel lights. Then time reversed, returning him before Preston Veil's public humiliation. His asset sovereignty system exposed every hidden ownership chain. Accurate insight could become immediate sovereign credit. One careless access token revealed Ashen River's secret midnight auction. Elias bought the underground rights before the billionaires understood. They still owned buildings, but he owned everything supporting them. That purchase transformed a disposable courier into the district's hidden ruler. Eventually, the entire city learned exactly who controlled its ground. The rain tasted like rust. Elias Vain knew because it kept slipping between his cracked lips as he lay face down beside the delivery van. The humiliation was carefully staged, while every camera kept recording. One cheek pressed against the filthy pavement. Above him, laughter rolled through the glass entrance of the Housian Crown Hotel. Rich laughter, careless laughter, the kind that belonged to people who had never wondered whether a single missed shift would cost them food, rent. The humiliation was carefully staged before the storm changed ownership forever, or the medicine keeping their mother alive. Elias slowly pushed himself onto one elbow. His uniform was soaked through. The cheap blue fabric clung to his thin shoulders. The humiliation was carefully staged, as Preston mistook cruelty for strength. Mud streaked the company logo across his chest. One knee burned where the hotel manager had kicked him down the marble steps. The humiliation was carefully staged, while Celeste watched from the safer side. The insulated food bag lay open in the gutter. The humiliation was carefully staged, and Elias stored the insult instead of reacting. Truffle pasta, imported desserts, all crushed beneath the polished shoe of Preston Veil. Preston stood beneath the golden awning, sheltered from the storm, surrounded by heirs, influencers, officials, and smiling parasites. He was handsome in the polished way of expensive cruelty. The humiliation was carefully staged. Before the crowd understood what it had witnessed, his black coat cost more than Elias earned in several years. His watch glimmered whenever lightning flashed. Beside him stood Celeste Ardan, Elias's former fiancée. She wore a silver dress and the diamond necklace Elias had once seen in a luxury advertisement while eating instant noodles in a freezing apartment. Every phone captured the cruelty, while every camera kept recording. Her fingers rested around Preston's arm. Not Elias's. Never Elias's again. Celeste looked down at him as if he were something scraped from the sole of her heel. "You should be grateful," she said. Every phone captured the cruelty before the storm changed ownership forever. At least Preston compensated your company for the spilled food. The crowd laughed again. Elias studied the ruined meal. He hadn't spilled it. Preston had slapped the bag from his hands after Elias refused to crawl beneath the banquet table and retrieve a dropped coin. Every phone captured the cruelty as Preston mistook cruelty for strength. The coin was still there, a thick gold token stamped with the crest of the Veil Consortium. Preston had tossed it onto the marble and pointed beneath the table. "Fetch." Elias had remained standing. That single act of dignity had offended everyone in the room. Every phone captured the cruelty, while Celeste watched from the safer side. The hotel manager had rushed forward, apologizing to Preston while striking Elias across the face. Security guards had dragged him outside. Guests had followed for entertainment. Then Preston had kicked the food into the rain. Every phone captured the cruelty, and Elias stored the insult instead of reacting. Now, dozens of phones recorded Elias kneeling in the gutter. Every phone captured the cruelty before the crowd understood what it had witnessed. By sunrise, the poor delivery dog who refused a rich man's generosity would become the city's newest joke. Preston stepped closer. His shoe crushed a pastry box. Every phone captured the cruelty, with the ruined delivery bag beside him. Cream and blood mingled beside Elias's hand. "You people never learn," Preston said. "Poverty is not bad luck. It is proof of inferiority." Celeste smiled faintly. That smile cut deeper than the kick. Every phone captured the cruelty as the hotel lights reflected across the rain. Years ago, when Elias had worked nights and studied furnished deliveries, Celeste had promised to stand beside him until he built a better life. She had remained beside him while his father's small construction company collapsed. She had held his hand while debt collectors emptied the family apartment. Every phone captured the cruelty, while the approaching truck closed the distance. She had cried against his chest when his mother entered the hospital. Then Preston offered her a position at the Veil Foundation. Every phone captured the cruelty, and the laughter hid a much larger conspiracy. 1 week later, She returned Elias's ring in a paper envelope. Every phone captured the cruelty before a mechanical voice answered his final thought. "I cannot drown with you," she had whispered. Tonight was the first time Elias had seen her since. She had invited him, not by name. She had placed the delivery order herself. Every phone captured the cruelty, while the guests treated dignity like a joke. Elias finally understood why this banquet wasn't merely a celebration. It was a stage. He was the entertainment. Preston crouched, careful not to let his coat touch the pavement. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, while every camera kept recording. "I heard you still dream of becoming a property investor," he said. "Is that true?" More laughter. Elias said nothing. Preston reached into his pocket and removed a folded document. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal before the storm changed ownership forever. He opened it beneath the awning. It was a property map of the Ashen River District. Elias recognized it at once. He knew every street, every abandoned warehouse, every decaying apartment block, every flooded basement and condemned factory. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, as Preston mistook cruelty for strength. He had delivered food there for years. The Ashen River District was the poorest area in the city, a rotting maze trapped between the freight yards and the polluted river. Officials called it a dead zone. Developers called it worthless. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, while Celeste watched from the safer side. Criminal gangs called it home. Elias called it opportunity. For years, he had studied old zoning maps, underground transit proposals, infrastructure budgets, auction schedules, and corporate filings. He had discovered strange patterns. Shell companies had quietly purchased land around the district. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, and Elias stored the insult instead of reacting. A transportation authority had ordered geological surveys. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal before the crowd understood what it had witnessed. A foreign energy corporation had registered permits for power storage facilities. Someone powerful expected Ashen River to become valuable. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, with the ruined delivery bag beside him. Elias had spent every spare coin buying fractional debt claims tied to neglected properties. Tiny claims, invisible claims, the sort rich investors ignored. He had almost gathered enough leverage to force a restructuring auction. Almost. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal as the hotel lights reflected across the rain. Then his father died. Then the hospital bills came. Then Celeste left. Then the Veil Consortium acquired the debt servicing company holding Elias's claims. Everything vanished overnight. Preston tapped the map. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, while the approaching truck closed the distance. "You once told Celeste this district would become the heart of the city." Celeste covered her mouth, pretending to suppress amusement. Preston kept going. Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, and the laughter hid a much larger conspiracy. "So I bought the servicing company that held your little contracts." Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, before a mechanical voice answered his final thought. "I canceled them. Then I purchased the buildings you had been tracking." The rain seemed to stop. Not in the sky inside Elias. His heartbeat became strangely quiet. Preston leaned closer. "Your research was useful." Celeste's silence confirmed the betrayal, while the guests treated dignity like a joke. "Wrong conclusion, though. Ashen River will remain a graveyard. We only bought it because demolishing your dream was cheaper than buying another racehorse." The crowd erupted. Even the hotel staff laughed. Elias memorized every laughing face, while every camera kept recording. Elias lowered his eyes, not from shame, to hide the coldness gathering within them. A notification vibrated against his chest, his phone, probably another warning from the delivery company. He ignored it. Elias memorized every laughing face before the storm changed ownership forever. Preston stood and tossed the map into the gutter. "Pick it up," he said. "Keep it as a souvenir." Elias studied Celeste. She met his gaze without guilt. Elias memorized every laughing face, as Preston mistook cruelty for strength. "You should stop pretending you are special," she said. "Some people are born to own cities. Others are born to carry dinner to them." A flash of lightning split the sky. Elias memorized every laughing face, while Celeste watched from the safer side. For one sharp instant, Elias saw everything with perfect clarity. Preston's smug face, Celeste's jeweled throat, the hotel manager's eager grin, the officials enjoying his humiliation, the cameras, the rain, the map dissolving in muddy water. Elias memorized every laughing face, and Elias stored the insult instead of reacting. Then a delivery truck screamed around the corner. Elias memorized every laughing face before the crowd understood what it had witnessed. Its tires lost traction. The vehicle swerved across the flooded road. People shouted. Phones dropped. Elias turned. White headlights swallowed him. Elias memorized every laughing face with the ruined delivery bag beside him. The impact lifted his body from the pavement. He felt bones break. He heard Celeste scream his name. Not from love, from shock. His body struck the hotel's stone wall and fell beside the crushed food bag. Elias memorized every laughing face as the hotel lights reflected across the rain. Warm blood spread beneath him. The crowd backed away. Preston stared pale and frozen. Elias tried to breathe. Nothing entered his lungs. The golden hotel lights blurred. Elias memorized every laughing face while the approaching truck closed the distance. His final thought wasn't regret. It was calculation. He had been right about Ashen River. He knew it. Elias memorized every laughing face, and the laughter hid a much larger conspiracy. The hidden purchases, the geological surveys, the sealed transportation reports. Only Elias could see the black screen, while the banquet continued above him. The district wasn't worthless. Someone had lied. Someone had buried the truth, and he had died before uncovering it. Darkness closed around him. Then a voice spoke inside the void. Cold mechanical. Asset sovereignty system activated. Only Elias could see the black screen, and the auction clock kept moving. Host death confirmed. Lifetime injustice index exceeds threshold. Cognitive regression authorized. Elias opened his eyes. He was standing beneath the golden awning. Rain hammered the street. The delivery bag was still in his hands. Only Elias could see the black screen. Before the Veil bidder recognized arrival, Preston hadn't yet knocked it away. The banquet guests studied him. Celeste remained beside Preston in her silver dress. No blood covered the pavement. No truck rushed around the corner. Only Elias could see the black screen, as sovereign credit replaced his empty bank balance. The hotel manager was walking toward him, wearing the same irritated expression. Elias glanced at the clock above the entrance. He had returned. Not years, not months, only minutes. Only Elias could see the black screen, while Preston displayed the token carelessly. Back to the moment before Preston ordered him to crawl. A translucent black screen hovered before his eyes. No one else reacted. Asset sovereignty system. Ownership recognizes insight. Insight creates authority. Only Elias could see the black screen, and each underground right changed the district's future. Authority creates dominion. Current host capability unlocked. True valuation. Elias studied Preston. Information flooded his vision. Preston Veil. Public net worth immense. Liquid control limited. Personal holdings heavily leveraged. Only Elias could see the black screen before the consortium reached its authorization ceiling. Emergency collateral exposure concealed. Psychological weakness, primary fear, loss of inherited status. Only Elias could see the black screen. As the black interface mapped every shell company, Elias's gaze shifted to Celeste. Celeste's current loyalty tied to perceived power, private debt substantial, hidden communications with multiple wealthy patrons, psychological weakness. Only Elias could see the black screen, while nobody noticed Elias bidding in silence. Abandonment, primary fear, returning to poverty. A soft laugh almost escaped Elias. So that was the truth. Not love, not ambition, only hunger. Dressed in silk. The hotel manager reached him. Only Elias could see the black screen, and the midnight liquidation approached its final second. Did you hear, Mr. Veil? The man snapped. Get beneath the table and retrieve his coin. Elias watched the banquet hall. The gold token rested on the marble floor. The crowd waited. Only Elias could see the black screen before the title Lord of Ashen River appeared. Preston lifted his chin. Fetch. In his previous life, Elias had refused. He had protected a scrap of pride and gained a broken body. Only Elias could see the black screen as ownership moved beneath the city's foundations. It was a small, controlled smile. Calm, almost obedient. The new rule was brutally simple, while the banquet continued above him. Celeste's eyes flickered with disappointment. She had hoped he would resist. She wanted the spectacle. Elias stepped into the banquet hall. Whispers followed him. He approached the table. Then he lowered himself. The new rule was brutally simple, and the auction clock kept moving. The crowd laughed before he even bent his knee. Preston spread his arms like an emperor granting mercy. That is better. Elias reached beneath the table. His fingers closed around the coin. The new rule was brutally simple. Before the Veil bidder recognized arrival, the system reacted. Unregistered bearer instrument detected. Ownership chain compromised. Embedded access signature discovered. Would host like to analyze asset network? Elias's pulse remained steady. Analyze. The visible world vanished. The new rule was brutally simple, as sovereign credit replaced his empty bank balance. Lines of ownership burst through his mind like veins of molten gold. The coin wasn't a decoration. It was a physical authentication token linked to a private consortium wallet. The new rule was brutally simple, while Preston displayed the token carelessly. The Veil family used these tokens to access sealed auctions, debt exchanges, and shell company transfers. Preston had carried his father's master token to impress his friends. An heir displaying a loaded weapon without knowing how to fire it. The new rule was brutally simple, and each underground right changed the district's future. The system opened layer after layer. Ashen River District, debt packages, condemned buildings, underground rights, water rights, transit corridors, energy permits, all scattered across hundreds of shell companies. The Veil Consortium hadn't bought Ashen River to destroy Elias's dream. The new rule was brutally simple. Before the consortium reached its authorization ceiling, Preston had lied. The family was secretly assembling the district before a government announcement. The new rule was brutally simple, as the black interface mapped every shell company. A massive underground transit hub would be built beneath Ashen River. A deep geothermal reserve had also been discovered below the industrial zone. The new rule was brutally simple, while nobody noticed Elias bidding in silence. Once revealed, land values would explode beyond imagination. But there was more. The Veil Consortium didn't fully own the district. They controlled the buildings. Someone else controlled the ground beneath them. The new rule was brutally simple, and the midnight liquidation approached its final second. A forgotten municipal trust held the subterranean rights. That trust had collapsed decades ago. Its claims were scheduled for automatic liquidation at midnight. The auction was hidden inside an obscure public debt portal. The new rule was brutally simple. Before the title Lord of Ashen River appeared, the opening price was absurdly low. Low enough that a delivery worker with an empty bank account could never pay it unless he possessed sovereign credit. The new rule was brutally simple, as ownership moved beneath the city's foundations. New system function unlocked. Insight collateralization. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority, while the banquet continued above him. Verified future asset value may be converted into immediate purchasing authority. Available sovereign credit sufficient. Elias's hand tightened around the token. The laughter above him grew louder. Look at him. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority, and the auction clock kept moving. Someone said, "Maybe poverty is a talent. Celeste, how did you ever touch that thing?" Celeste's voice came softly. "I was young." Elias crawled out from beneath the table. He rose. Then he placed the golden token on Preston's palm. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority before the Veil bidder recognized arrival. Their eyes met. Preston expected anger. "Thank you," Elias said. The room quieted slightly. "For what?" Elias glanced at the coin. "For showing me where I belong." The crowd exploded with approval. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority as sovereign credit replaced his empty bank balance. Preston relaxed. He believed Elias had broken. Celeste looked relieved. The hotel manager slapped Elias's shoulder. "Now apologized for wasting everyone's time." Elias bowed his head. "My mistake." Every word tasted sweet. Not because he surrendered. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority, while Preston displayed the token carelessly, because while they watched him bend, the system was using the token's access signature to enter the hidden debt portal. The liquidation auction appeared before his eyes. Municipal Subsurface Trust. Opening bid accepted. Sovereign credit verified. Competing bidder detected. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority, and each underground right changed the district's future. Veil Consortium Holdings. Elias almost admired the timing. The Veil family planned to acquire the underground rights at midnight and complete their control of Ashen River. They thought no one else knew the auction existed. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority before the consortium reached its authorization ceiling. They thought Elias was a dying insect beneath their shoe. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority as the black interface mapped every shell company. The system displayed the current bid. Then the Veil Consortium raised it. Elias raised it again. The difference was trivial. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority, while nobody noticed Elias bidding in silence. The future value beneath Ashen River wasn't. The Veil bidder paused, then raised aggressively. Elias matched it again. Again, Preston was still insulting him. His friends were still laughing. Celeste was still smiling. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority, and the midnight liquidation approached its final second. None of them knew the poor delivery worker standing before them was quietly tearing the foundation out from beneath their empire. The system pulsed. Competing bidder has reached internal authorization limit. Final counteroffer required. Auctions closed. Winning claimant. Asset package acquired. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority before the title Lord of Ashen River appeared. Subterranean ownership rights secured. Transit corridor rights secured. Geothermal extraction rights secured. Structural redevelopment veto authority secured. District sovereignty threshold achieved. Verified knowledge could now become purchasing authority as ownership moved beneath the city's foundations. New title unlocked. Lord of Ashen River. Elias felt no excitement. Preston's token opened the worst possible door, while the banquet continued above him. Excitement clouded judgment. He simply studied the people around him. The officials who had mocked him would soon need his signature. The developers who had laughed would soon kneel for access. Preston's token opened the worst possible door, and the auction clock kept moving. The Veil Consortium had spent fortunes buying buildings whose foundations now belonged to him. They owned walls. He owned the earth beneath them. They owned towers. He owned the right to decide whether those towers could stand. Preston's token opened the worst possible door before the Veil bidder recognized a rival. Preston flicked his fingers toward the delivery bag. Put the food down and leave. Elias obeyed. The hotel manager snatched the bag and checked the order. You forgot the imported wine. I wasn't assigned wine. Are you arguing? Preston's token opened the worst possible door as sovereign credit replaced his empty bank balance. No. Elias faced the door. Celeste called after him. Elias. He stopped. For one foolish heartbeat, she perhaps expected pain in his eyes. Instead, he studied her the way a buyer examined damaged merchandise. Preston's token opened the worst possible door, while Preston displayed the token carelessly. Her smile stiffened. You should give up on those childish property dreams, she said. I am telling you this for your own good. Elias nodded. You were right. She blinked about what? Preston's token opened the worst possible door, and each underground right changed the district's future. Some people are born to carry dinner. He studied Preston. And some are born to lose everything while the whole city watches. Silence fell. Preston's face darkened. Elias smiled again. The same quiet smile he had worn before dying. Preston's token opened the worst possible door before the consortium reached its authorization ceiling. Only now it carried the weight of an entire district. Preston's token opened the worst possible door as the black interface mapped every shell company. I said, the food will get cold. He entered the rain. Behind him, Preston shouted for security. But Elias didn't hurry. His mother's life made delay impossible, while his mother waited behind another locked door. He checked the road. The delivery truck that had killed him roared around the corner. This time, Elias stepped aside before it lost control. The truck skidded past him and crashed into the hotel's decorative fountain. His mother's life made delay impossible, and Halden kept pretending the pressure was compassion. Screams erupted beneath the awning. Elias never looked back. A new vibration came from his phone. A message from his delivery company appeared. Complaint received. Account suspended. Pending investigation. A second message followed. Hospital payment overdue. Treatment termination scheduled. His mother's life made delay impossible before the Foundation understood what it had accepted. Then a third. Unknown sender. Congratulations on acquiring the Municipal Subsurface Trust. A meeting is required before the Ashen River redevelopment announcement. His mother's life made delay impossible as the relief account exposed another hidden transfer. Name your location. Elias stood beneath the rain. Uniform soaked. Bank account empty. His mother's life made delay impossible, while Preston listened for a defeated apology. Employment gone, and mother dying. To anyone watching, he had nothing. But beneath his feet, tunnels, thermal reserves, transit routes in the future heart of the city now answered to his name. He opened the district map. Red marks covered property after property. His mother's life made delay impossible, and the contract quietly redirected historical liabilities. Veil buildings, government facilities, luxury developments, corporate warehouses, all resting above his land. Elias gradually folded the map and placed it inside his jacket. In his previous life, they had dragged him through mud and called it fate. His mother's life made delay impossible before Elias activated the first poison debt. This time he would build them a magnificent road to hell. He would pave it with contracts, decorate it with gold, and let every arrogant fool walk down it willingly. The rain followed Elias all the way to St. Orson Hospital. His mother's life made delay impossible, as every hospital machine became part of the leverage. By the time he reached the entrance, his delivery uniform had become a second skin. Water dripped from his sleeves. Mud clung to his shoes. A thin line of dried blood darkened the corner of his mouth. His mother's life made delay impossible, while the director underestimated a soaked delivery worker. The receptionist looked up once, then looked away. She had seen him before: the exhausted son, the overdue account, the man who always promised payment with the desperate confidence of someone already drowning. His mother's life made delay impossible, and the bribery network opened across his vision. Elias approached the counter. "My mother." The receptionist sighed. "Her treatment has been suspended. I received the message." "Then you understand." "I understand that someone authorized the suspension before the deadline." His mother's life made delay impossible before the Veil Foundation could reverse the transfer. Her expression changed only slightly. "Enough." Elias leaned closer. "Who?" His mother's life made delay impossible as his mother's treatment finally restarted. "I cannot disclose internal decisions." "Then call whoever can." "There is no one available." The system stirred behind his eyes. True valuation. The receptionist's information unfolded. Halden mistook desperation for surrender, while his mother waited behind another locked door. Salary modest. Medical debt hidden. Brother employed by the Veil Foundation. Recent payment received from an external administrative account. Primary fear: dismissal. Elias's voice remained calm. "The Veil Foundation paid your brother's debt this morning." Halden mistook desperation for surrender, and Halden kept pretending the pressure was compassion. Her face drained. "I do not know what you are talking about. They also instructed this hospital to suspend my mother's treatment before midnight." The receptionist's fingers froze above the keyboard. Elias watched her breathing change, fast, shallow. Halden mistook desperation for surrender before the Foundation understood what it had accepted. He had spent years delivering food to office workers, doctors, bankers, and government clerks. People revealed themselves when they thought the poor were invisible. Halden mistook desperation for surrender as the relief account exposed another hidden transfer. A waiter heard confessions. A driver saw affairs. Halden mistook desperation for surrender, while Preston listened for a defeated apology. A delivery worker entered every tower and was remembered by none. Elias had built an empire of unnoticed knowledge without realizing it. Now the system sharpened every fragment. The receptionist lowered her voice. Halden mistook desperation for surrender, and the contract quietly redirected historical liabilities. There was a special instruction. From whom? Hospital administration. Name. She hesitated. Elias placed one wet hand on the counter. Something in his eyes broke her resistance. Director Halden. Elias remembered him. Halden mistook desperation for surrender before Elias activated the first poison debt. A broad man with silver hair and a soft voice. He had shaken Elias's hand during his mother's admission and promised compassion. Compassion always became expensive once the cameras left. Elias faced the private elevators. Halden mistook desperation for surrender as every hospital machine became part of the leverage. A security guard blocked his path. "Public access ends here." Elias kept going, walking. The guard grabbed his shoulder. Elias stopped. Not because the grip hurt, because a black screen appeared. Halden mistook desperation for surrender, while the director underestimated a soaked delivery worker. The asset sovereignty system answered. Host currently controls subterranean rights beneath St. Orson Hospital. Building lease depends upon protected Foundation access. Emergency authority available. Would host like to issue structural access notice? Elias accepted. Halden mistook desperation for surrender, and the bribery network opened across his vision. Every light in the lobby flickered. A warning tone echoed through the hospital. Phones began ringing behind the reception desk. The guard released Elias. The receptionist studied her monitor. Foundation rights dispute. She whispered. Halden mistook desperation for surrender before the Veil Foundation could reverse the transfer. What does that mean? It means Elias said. Halden mistook desperation for surrender as his mother's treatment finally restarted. This building has been using property it does not own. The private elevator opened. Director Halden stepped out with two administrators behind him. His silver hair was immaculate. The contract concealed a second trap, while his mother waited behind another locked door. His suit carried no wrinkles. His expression was carefully concerned. "Elias," he said, "I heard there was a disturbance. My mother's treatment." Halden offered a sorrowful smile. "We did everything we could." The contract concealed a second trap, and Halden kept pretending the pressure was compassion. "You suspended it early. Resources are limited." The Veil Foundation ordered it. For half a breath, Halden's mask slipped. Then pity returned. "You are under tremendous stress. Grief often creates irrational suspicions." The contract concealed a second trap before the Foundation understood what it had accepted. Elias almost admired the performance. Halden extended a hand. "Come to my office. We can discuss an assistance arrangement." The contract concealed a second trap as the relief account exposed another hidden transfer. The trap arrived wrapped in kindness. Elias followed him. The office overlooked the city. The contract concealed a second trap, while Preston listened for a defeated apology. Warm wood, soft leather, expensive paintings donated by families whose names appeared on hospital wings. Halden poured water into a crystal glass. "You have been through a difficult evening." Elias remained standing. Halden sat behind his desk. The contract concealed a second trap, and the contract quietly redirected historical liabilities. "The Veil Foundation has offered to settle your mother's remaining balance." Why? They saw the unfortunate video from the hotel already. The humiliation had spread faster than the rain. Halden slid a document across the desk. The contract concealed a second trap before Elias activated the first poison debt. "In exchange, you will release the hospital and the foundation from all claims. You will also issue a public statement acknowledging that Mr. Preston Veil attempted to help you and that your behavior resulted from emotional instability." The contract concealed a second trap as every hospital machine became part of the leverage. Elias read the first page. The payment covered less than a fraction of the treatment. The remaining balance would be converted into personal debt. His mother would receive temporary stabilization, then be transferred to a low-care facility, a quiet burial disguised as charity. The contract concealed a second trap, while the director underestimated a soaked delivery worker. Halden folded his hands. "This is a generous offer." Elias studied him. "Did Preston write that sentence for you?" Halden's smile cooled. "You should consider your position." "I have." The contract concealed a second trap, and the bribery network opened across his vision. "You have no employment, no savings, no insurance. Your mother requires immediate intervention. Pride will kill her." Elias lowered his gaze to the contract. In his previous life, he would have signed. He would have accepted humiliation as medicine. The contract concealed a second trap before the Veil Foundation could reverse the transfer. He would have thanked the knife for cutting gradually. The contract concealed a second trap as his mother's treatment finally restarted. This time, the system scanned the document. Hidden clause detected. Assignment of intellectual property. Assignment of research records. Elias let them believe he had broken, while his mother waited behind another locked door. Assignment of future claims related to Ashen River District. Elias almost laughed. So, not everything, but enough to fear the notes Elias had gathered. The public humiliation had never been random. The canceled contracts, the hospital pressure, Celeste's invitation, Elias let them believe he had broken, and Halden kept pretending the pressure was compassion. They wanted him broken, desperate, and legally stripped of any future claim before the redevelopment announcement. They hadn't merely mocked a delivery worker. They had staged an execution. Halden pushed a pin toward him. Elias picked it up. Elias let them believe he had broken before the Foundation understood what it had accepted. Halden relaxed. Elias placed the tip against the paper, then stopped. "I want one change." "What change?" "My mother receives the full treatment package." Elias let them believe he had broken as the relief account exposed another hidden transfer. Halden shook his head. "Impossible." "Then I do not sign." Elias let them believe he had broken, while Preston listened for a defeated apology. "You have no leverage." Elias watched the window. Below them, the hospital occupied an entire block of Ashen River's eastern boundary. Its emergency wing extended over land controlled by the municipal trust. Elias! Its underground parking structure crossed protected thermal access shafts. Its newest surgical tower had been built without updated foundation rights. He could close half the hospital with a single notice, but brute force was wasteful. Elias let them believe he had broken, before Elias activated the first poison debt. A cornered enemy resisted. A greedy enemy volunteered. Elias placed the pin out. "Tell Preston I accept." Halden blinked. "You just said I accept the original terms." Elias let them believe he had broken, as every hospital machine became part of the leverage. Suspicion entered the director's eyes. Elias softened his expression. He let exhaustion bend his shoulders. He let desperation return to his voice. "But I want the settlement transferred through the Veil Foundation's emergency relief account." Elias let them believe he had broken, while the director underestimated a soaked delivery worker. Halden frowned. "Why?" "So the public statement appears legitimate." The director studied him. Elias looked away first. A defeated man should not hold eye contact too long. Elias let them believe he had broken, and the bribery network opened across his vision. Halden reached for his phone. "You are finally thinking clearly." Elias offered no response. The emergency relief account wasn't merely a payment channel. It was connected to the Veil Foundation's private acquisition network. Elias let them believe he had broken, before the Veil Foundation could reverse the transfer. The golden token had exposed its structure. Elias let them believe he had broken, as his mother's treatment finally restarted. Once the account interacted with the sovereign asset claim, the system could trace every concealed transfer tied to Ashen River. Halden made the call. His voice turned warm and respectful. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, while his mother waited behind another locked door. "Mr. Veil, he is ready." Another pause. Halden smiled at Elias. "He has one additional request." The phone switched to speaker. Preston's voice filled apologize. Elias remained silent. Preston chuckled to Celeste. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, and Halden kept pretending the pressure was compassion. Halden watched eagerly. Preston continued the humiliation. "You embarrassed her tonight. Tell her she was right to leave you. Tell her you were never worthy of standing beside her." Every transfer exposed another hidden account before the Foundation understood what it had accepted. The cruelty was childish. That made it useful. Elias lowered his head. "Put her on." A faint rustle followed, and Celeste's voice softened. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, as the relief account exposed another hidden transfer. "Careful, Elias." He could hear music behind her. The banquet continued. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, while Preston listened for a defeated apology. His blood had barely dried in memory, yet they were already drinking again. "I am listening," she said. Elias closed his eyes, not from pain to remember every detail. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, and the contract quietly redirected historical liabilities. The silver dress, the diamond necklace, the way she had called him inferior, the way she had watched him kneel. "You were right to leave me." Elias stayed silent. Halden smiled wider. Every transfer exposed another hidden account before Elias activated the first poison debt. "I was never worthy of standing beside you." Celeste exhaled. Relief. Victory. Perhaps even disappointment that he had broken so easily. "I am glad you finally understand," she whispered. Preston laughed in the background. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, as every hospital machine became part of the leverage. "Good dog." The call ended. Halden pushed the contract forward again. Elias signed, not his full signature, a transactional mark recognized by the system as conditional acceptance. The Foundation transferred the settlement, the instant the money entered the hospital account. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, while the director underestimated a soaked delivery worker. Golden lines erupted across Elias's vision. Network connection established. Tracing relief account. Hidden transfers identified. Shell corporations mapped. Illegal municipal payments detected. Bribery network identified. Judicial influence accounts identified. Redevelopment announcement confirmed. Public release scheduled soon. Every transfer exposed another hidden account, and the bribery network opened across his vision. Projected district valuation increase. Catastrophic for competitors. The system absorbed the evidence. Then another message appeared. Host has voluntarily yielded a minor claim. Enemy has accepted poisoned asset. Predatory reversal activated. Every transfer exposed another hidden account before the Veil Foundation could reverse the transfer. All liabilities hidden within the transferred contract may be redirected to the acquiring party. Every transfer exposed another hidden account. As his mother's treatment finally restarted, Elias read the clause again. The contract assigned his future Ashen River claims to the Veil Foundation. The Foundation accepted liabilities it never understood, while his mother waited behind another locked door. But the wording was arrogant and broad. It didn't merely assign profits. It assigned obligations, disputes, penalties, environmental liabilities, and historical debts connected to any claim he had possessed before signing. Preston thought he had stolen buried treasure. The Foundation accepted liabilities it never understood, and Halden kept pretending the pressure was compassion. Instead, he had accepted every poison chain attached to the district's condemned properties, decades of unpaid remediation, illegal dumping penalties, worker compensation claims, structural violations, displaced tenant obligations, environmental restoration orders. The total was enormous. And because Elias now controlled the subterranean trust, he could decide which historical claims were activated first. The Foundation accepted liabilities it never understood, before the Foundation understood what it had accepted. He had handed Preston a golden cup. The poison was already inside. Halden collected the contract. Your mother's treatment will resume at once. The Foundation accepted liabilities it never understood, as the relief account exposed another hidden transfer. Of course, Elias's expression hardened. Halden noticed. The director's smile faded. Small properties created enormous leverage, while the public still saw a ruined neighborhood. One machine stops. One nurse delays. Or one order changes. I will return. Halden leaned back. Is that a threat? No. Elias glanced at the floor. A property notice. Another notification pulsed through his phone. Small properties created enormous leverage, and every overlooked route produced better information. The unknown sender messaged again. The Redevelopment Council will meet at dawn. Your ownership claim has created panic. Elias typed a reply. I am the man beneath your buildings. Then he left. Small properties created enormous leverage, before larger companies recognized the pattern. His mother slept beneath white sheets, surrounded by machines that had begun moving again. Elias remained beside her bed. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. She had spent her life cleaning the offices of men like Preston. Small properties created enormous leverage, as riders carried data alongside every delivery. She had washed their floors while Elias's father built their walls. When the family company collapsed, those same men purchased the equipment for scraps and called it market discipline. Elias touched her hand, warm alive. That was enough. He didn't promise revenge aloud. Small properties created enormous leverage, while mechanics restored machines others had discarded. Promises were for people who needed courage. Elias needed only time. Before sunrise, he entered a public computer cafe beneath the freight bridge. The owner barely looked up. Elias rented the darkest booth. Small properties created enormous leverage, and small businesses gained room to survive. He opened every file he had collected during years of deliveries. Property maps, auction liens, construction records, transit rumors, photographs of sealed tunnels, copies of documents discarded outside corporate offices. True valuation expanded. Ashen River unfolded in layers. Buildings weren't buildings, they were pressure points, debts, secrets, dependencies. Small properties created enormous leverage. Before the Veil investigators found a visible leader, the Veil Consortium controlled the visible district, but its ownership was fragile. Small properties created enormous leverage. As the cooperative turned wages into loyalty, most properties were financed through short-term loans. Several depended on the redevelopment announcement to avoid default. Small properties created enormous leverage, while Elias slept above an ordinary garage. Others had been purchased using illegal foundation funds. If the announcement proceeded smoothly, the Veil family would become untouchable. If access to the underground rights was delayed, their loans would mature before the land value rose. Small properties created enormous leverage, and each service alley became strategic territory. Their empire would suffocate on its own debt. Elias began purchasing not towers, not hotels, things no one respected: drainage easements, service alleys, maintenance tunnels, abandoned utility corridors, waste access permits, old worker dormitories. Tiny parcels trapped between larger developments. Each purchase seemed meaningless. Small properties created enormous leverage, before the district understood who had saved it. Together, they formed a net. The system converted future value into sovereign credit. Elias acquired one claim, then dozens. His name remained hidden behind newly created trusts. Small properties created enormous leverage. As the black crown spread without ceremony, the poor delivery worker vanished. In his place emerged a silent network of ownership. Ignored workers became his information network, while the public still saw a ruined neighborhood. By midnight, he controlled the roads required to transport construction material. By the darkest hour, he controlled the water access required for geothermal drilling. Before dawn, he controlled the emergency exits beneath several Veil warehouses. Ignored workers became his information network, and every overlooked route produced better information. Every purchase increased his authority. Every authority unlocked more credit. Every credit line purchased more control. The growth became violent. A single alley led to a warehouse lien. Ignored workers became his information network before larger companies recognized the pattern. The lien led to a default clause. The default clause exposed a logistics company. The logistics company held contracts with half the district. Elias acquired its debt for almost nothing. A drainage permit revealed illegal chemical disposal. Ignored workers became his information network as riders carried data alongside every delivery. The pollution trail led to a Veil shell company. He purchased the cleanup contractor before the violation became public. A condemned apartment block held no visible value. Ignored workers became his information network, while mechanics restored machines others had discarded. Beneath it lay the only stable entrance to the future transit hub. Elias bought the building from an exhausted owner who nearly cried with relief. By sunrise, the system displayed a new threshold. District operational control achieved. Ignored workers became his information network, and small businesses gained room to survive. District commercial dependency achieved. District sovereign influence approaching completion. Elias leaned back in the booth. His eyes were bloodshot. His body ached. He had eaten nothing. Yet the cold inside him had become perfectly still. Ignored workers became his information network before the Veil investigators found a visible leader. Outside, workers began opening shops. Street vendors unfolded carts. Ignored workers became his information network. As the cooperative turned wages into loyalty, delivery riders gathered beneath the bridge, checking orders on cracked phones. They moved through the district like blood through veins. Ignored necessary. Ignored workers became his information network, while Elias slept above an ordinary garage. Elias watched them. The Veil family saw land. Officials saw taxes. Developers saw towers. Elias saw the people who kept the city alive while being told they owned nothing. He didn't intend to save them from kindness. Ignored workers became his information network, and each service alley became strategic territory. Kindness was weak when it depended on gratitude. He intended to purchase their dependence, reward their usefulness, and build loyalty stronger than fear. A message appeared from the system. Hidden opportunity detected. Ashen River Labor Cooperative nearing bankruptcy. Ignored workers became his information network before the district understood who had saved it. Assets include delivery routes, warehouse access, repair garages, food distribution contracts, and local trust networks. Acquisition recommended. Elias accepted. The sovereign credit flowed. Ignored workers became his information network as the black crown spread without ceremony. The cooperative's debts vanished. Ownership transferred across the district. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, while the public still saw a ruined neighborhood. Unpaid mechanics received wages. Warehouse workers found their access cards restored. Delivery riders saw suspended accounts reactivate under a new platform. Food vendors received notices that rental increases had been canceled. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, and every overlooked route produced better information. No one knew who had done it. Only a black symbol appeared on every message. A crown beneath the earth. Elias studied the symbol, the first stone of his empire. Every route revealed another vulnerable business before larger companies recognized the pattern. His old delivery company sent another message. Termination confirmed. Uniform and equipment must be returned. He smiled, then purchased the company's Ashen River operations through the cooperative. A new notification arrived moments later. Regional ownership transferred. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, as riders carried data alongside every delivery. Employment records under review. Managerial misconduct flagged. Elias searched the employee list. The hotel manager's brother held a senior position. The supervisor who had suspended Elias was listed beside dozens of wage theft complaints. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, while mechanics restored machines others had discarded. Elias froze their bonuses. Then he doubled rider compensation. Not mercy. Investment. Loyal workers move faster than frightened ones. A final message appeared. The Veil Foundation has registered the contract assigning your former claims. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, and small businesses gained room to survive. Environmental liabilities transferring now. Elias opened the activation panel. He selected the first poison debt. An abandoned chemical warehouse owned through a Veil shell corporation. Cleanup cost ruinous. Government penalties severe. Public exposure disastrous. He activated it. Every route revealed another vulnerable business before the Veil investigators found a visible leader. Across the city, alarms would already be ringing inside Veil offices. Every route revealed another vulnerable business. As the cooperative turned wages into loyalty, accountants would wake. Lawyers would panic. Preston would assume it was a minor inconvenience. He wouldn't yet understand that the cup in his hand had no bottom. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, while Elias slept above an ordinary garage. Elias stood. The cafe owner glanced at him. You look different. Elias picked up his empty delivery bag. How? Like you came in poor and are leaving dangerous. Every route revealed another vulnerable business, and each service alley became strategic territory. Elias placed payment on the counter. Those are often the same thing. Outside, dawn spread over Ashen River. Rusting roofs glowed beneath the pale sky. Broken windows reflected the first light. The district still looked ruined. That was useful. Every route revealed another vulnerable business before the district understood who had saved it. Let the wealthy continue laughing. Let Preston parade Celeste through golden halls. Let the Veil family celebrate the land they believed they owned. Every route revealed another vulnerable business as the black crown spread without ceremony. Elias crossed the streets in his soaked uniform while invisible contracts shifted beneath every step. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear. While the public still saw a ruined neighborhood, he had given his enemies the spotlight. He had given them his apology. He had given them the poison claim they wanted. Now he would grow in darkness quietly, violently until the entire city discovered that every road, every tower, every pipeline. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, and every overlooked route produced better information. And every fortune in Ashen River passed through the hands of the delivery man they had ordered to crawl. By noon, the first rumors reached the Veil Consortium. A chemical liability had surfaced beneath one of their warehouse subsidiaries, then another, then 5 more. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, before larger companies recognized the pattern. The penalties alone were enough to crush a minor developer. The Veil family wasn't minor. That was why Preston laughed when the report landed on the polished table. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, as riders carried data alongside every delivery. He sat in the upper dining hall of Veil Tower, surrounded by Florida-siling windows and a skyline built by men his grandfather had ruined. Celeste sat across from him sipping coffee from white porcelain. The morning newspapers had already published photographs from the Housian Crown Hotel. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, while mechanics restored machines others had discarded. One showed Elias kneeling in the rain. Another captured Preston standing above him with one hand extended. The headline praised the Veil heir for attempting to help a troubled delivery worker. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, and small businesses gained room to survive. Celeste had given a statement. She said Elias had always been unstable. She said Preston had shown remarkable patience. She said wealth carried responsibility. The public adored it. Preston scrolled through the comments and grinned. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, before the Veil investigators found a visible leader. People love a fallen dog, he said. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, as the cooperative turned wages into loyalty. Especially when someone respectable holds the leash. Celeste smiled. Yet something about Elias's final expression disturbed her. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, while Elias slept above an ordinary garage. He hadn't looked broken. He had looked amused. She pushed the thought aside. Poor men often mistook bitterness for dignity. Preston tossed the chemical report toward his legal director. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, and each service alley became strategic territory. Handle it. The director didn't touch the document. Mr. Veil, the liability is attached to the Ashen River assignment. So, The assignment came through the foundation contract signed by Elias Vain. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear. Before the district understood who had saved it, Preston's smile widened. Then, he finally gave us something useful. It includes environmental obligations. Move them to another shell company. Fair wages purchased loyalty faster than fear, as the black crown spread without ceremony. We attempted that. The obligations are locked to the acquiring foundation. The district began responding to one signal, while the public still saw a ruined neighborhood. Preston leaned back. Locked by whom not know. His amusement faded. The legal director slid another report across the table. Several underground access notices were filed this morning. The district began responding to one signal, and every overlooked route produced better information. St. Orson Hospital, our eastern warehouses, the future transit corridor. The claimant controls the municipal subsurface trust. Celeste lowered her cup. Someone bought it. The auction closed last night. The district began responding to one signal before larger companies recognized the pattern. Preston studied the report. His father had warned him about the trust. The final acquisition was supposed to happen quietly at midnight. No competitors knew. No officials knew. Even most Veil executives knew nothing. The district began responding to one signal, as riders carried data alongside every delivery. Who won? The claimant is hidden behind a sovereign ownership seal. Preston's fingers tightened. How much did they pay? A fraction more than our authorization limit. The room became still. The district began responding to one signal, while mechanics restored machines others had discarded. Someone had known exactly where the Veil bid would stop. Someone had watched them from inside the auction. Preston's first thought wasn't Elias. That would have been absurd. The district began responding to one signal, and small businesses gained room to survive. Elias couldn't afford the hotel wine he had forgotten to deliver. No, this was a rival family. Perhaps the Arden Group. Perhaps a foreign fund. Perhaps one of the old municipal clans trying to crawl back into power. The district began responding to one signal. Before the Veil investigators found a visible leader, Preston stood. Raise the acquisition budget. The auction is claim it. The district began responding to one signal, as the cooperative turned wages into loyalty. We cannot identify them. Buy everyone until they identify themselves. The legal director lowered his eyes. Yes, Mr. Veil. The district began responding to one signal, while Elias slept above an ordinary garage. Preston faced Celeste. She smiled quickly. You will solve it, of course. He kissed her forehead, but his hand was cold. Far below Veil Tower, Elias was walking through a warehouse filled with broken delivery vehicles. The district began responding to one signal, and each service alley became strategic territory. Oil stained the concrete. Rain leaked through the roof. Mechanics worked beneath suspended lights, repairing engines with tools older than some of the riders. The Ashen River Labor Cooperative had once employed thousands. The district began responding to one signal before the district understood who had saved it. Now only a few hundred remained. Debt had stripped the walls bare. Management had sold spare parts. Bankers had seized the best vehicles. The district began responding to one signal as the black crown spread without ceremony. The workers expected another buyer to arrive, drain the remaining value, and shut the gates. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, while the public still saw a ruined neighborhood. Instead, Elias entered wearing the same cheap uniform from the night before. The cooperative chairman studied him. You are the new owner's representative. I am the owner. The room erupted with disbelief. A mechanic laughed openly. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, and every overlooked route produced better information. Another worker watched the door, expecting hidden cameras. The chairman's face hardened. This is not a game. Elias placed a folder on the table. Inside were cleared debt records, restored fuel accounts, wage transfers, medical coverage confirmations. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor before larger companies recognized the pattern. The chairman read the first page, then the second. His hands started to tremble. Who are you? A delivery worker. That is not what I asked. It is the only answer that matters. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor as riders carried data alongside every delivery. Elias approached the damaged fleet. True valuation spread across his vision. Most vehicles appeared worthless, but the system identified hidden value. Engines reusable. Battery frames adaptable. Routing equipment recoverable. Warehouse permits strategically critical. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, while mechanics restored machines others had discarded. Repair teams highly skilled. Worker loyalty damaged but restorable. The cooperative hadn't failed because its people were weak. It had failed because every profitable route had been stolen by larger platforms while its debts remained. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, and small businesses gained room to survive. Elias faced the workers. No speeches. They fell quiet. I will not call you family. I will not promise equality. I purchased this cooperative because you are useful. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor. Before the Veil investigators found a visible leader, several faces darkened. The chairman watched carefully. Elias kept going. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor. As the cooperative turned wages into loyalty, useful people should be paid. Loyal people should be protected. Productive people should rise. He pointed toward the damaged vehicles. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, while Elias slept above an ordinary garage. Every machine restored earns a direct share of its route revenue. Murmurs spread. Every rider who completes a district route receives emergency medical coverage. The room quieted further. Every manager who steals wages loses everything. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, and each service alley became strategic territory. The old supervisor near the rear doors called. You have until sunset to confess. The man stumbled backward. How could you, sunset? Elias turned away. For Elias, that answer was sufficient. Fear worked best when details remained hidden. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor. Before the district understood who had saved it, the system opened a development panel. Delivery network available for evolution. Current assets insufficient for conventional expansion. Alternative path detected. Modular logistics conversion. No tower functioned without roads, water, and labor, as the Black Crown spread without ceremony. Plans unfolded. Old delivery vans could become mobile power stations. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. Abandoned garages could become charging hubs. Food routes could double as medical supply lines. Rider location data could map road conditions, vacant buildings, security threats, and commercial demand. The cooperative wasn't merely a delivery service. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. It was a nervous system. Every courier moved through streets nobles never entered. Every driver knew which warehouse operated at night. Every mechanic heard which company couldn't pay for repairs. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system before the geothermal pressure reached the surface. Every food vendor knew where crowds gathered. The rich watched financial screens. Elias would watch the city breathe. He divided the cooperative into cells. Transport food, medical supplier, security, property observation. No one saw the whole structure except him. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. Within days, Black Crowned vehicles began moving across Ashen River. They delivered meals faster than the larger platforms. They repaired broken carts for street vendors. They transported medicine for elderly tenants. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system, while Mira mapped movement across every street. They offered fair contracts to restaurants being crushed by commissions. The cooperative earned little at first, but it collected loyalty. Loyalty became data. Data became leverage. Leverage became ownership. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system, and Sarah turned discipline into reliable security. A struggling baker mentioned that his landlord planned to sell. Elias bought the debt. A rider reported an abandoned cold storage facility. Elias acquired it before a supermarket chain discovered the location. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system before Preston understood the Black Crown's real scale. A mechanic revealed that a freight company had missed payroll. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system as practical abundance replaced empty luxury. Elias purchased its vehicle liens and offered the drivers better terms. Each small acquisition fed the next. The system rewarded verified insight. Sovereign credit expanded. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system, while Rook reinforced the tunnels beneath the district. By the end of the week, Elias controlled nearly every essential delivery route through Ashen River. By the next, he owned the repair depot, keeping rival fleets alive. When competitors raised prices, they paid his mechanics. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system, and Elias kept his identity outside the spotlight. When developers needed emergency supplies, they used his roads. When restaurants required cold storage, they rented his warehouses. Money flowed quietly, not in rivers and veins. Elias took almost none for himself. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system. Before the Redevelopment Council demanded his signature, he still slept in a small room above an old garage. He still wore plain clothes. He still visited his mother at St. Orson Hospital. The Black Crown became Ashen River's nervous system as the whole domain learned to function under pressure. The nurses treated him differently now, not with respect, with confusion. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. Director Halden had warned them to be careful. The hospital had received another structural notice after one nurse delayed medication. No one knew how Elias caused it. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. They only knew machines began working whenever he arrived. His mother regained color gradually. One evening, she opened her eyes. He leaned closer. "I am here. You look tired." Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury before the geothermal pressure reached the surface. "I have been working deliveries." He paused. Yes, it wasn't a lie. He was delivering an entire district out of captivity. She smiled weakly. "Do not work yourself to death." Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. In his previous life, she had died believing she had ruined him. This time, Elias adjusted her blanket. "I will not die poor." She squeezed his hand. "That was never what I feared." Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury, while Mira mapped movement across every street. He said nothing. Love remained the one asset the system couldn't price. That made it dangerous and precious. Outside the hospital, a young woman waited beside a black-crowned motorcycle. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury, and Sarah turned discipline into reliable security. Her name was Mira Soul. She had once been the cooperative's fastest rider. 3 delivery platforms had blacklisted her after she exposed wage theft. She wore a patched leather jacket and carried a tablet filled with district reports. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury before Preston understood the Black Crown's real scale. Veil security entered the Western blocks. She said, "How many?" Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury as practical abundance replaced empty luxury. Enough to ask questions. Not enough to admit fear. What are they looking for? The underground claimant. Elias approached the motorcycle. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury, while Rook reinforced the tunnels beneath the district. "Let them look." Mira studied him. "Should we move your mother?" "Not yet. They know you had Ashen River research. They think they took it. They also think you are harmless." Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury, and Elias kept his identity outside the spotlight. "That is why they will make mistakes." Mira handed him the tablet. The Veil Consortium had begun pressuring small property owners to sell before the redevelopment announcement. Some had refused. Inspectors without warning appeared. Licenses vanished. Loans were called early. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury before the Redevelopment Council demanded his signature. A family-owned restaurant had been closed over fabricated violations. A row of tenants had been threatened with eviction. Elias read every name. Practical abundance replaced decorative luxury as the whole domain learned to function under pressure. "Purchase their debts." "We already did." He studied Mira. She shrugged. Workers defended what finally protected them, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. "You told us useful people should rise." A faint smile touched his mouth. "Good. Also, the restaurant owner wants to meet the person who saved them." "No, she baked you a cake." "No, it has a black crown on it." Workers defended what finally protected them, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. Elias studied her. Mira almost smiled. He returned the tablet, distributed among the night crews. "So, you do have mercy. Sugar improves productivity, of course." She started the motorcycle. Elias climbed on behind her. Workers defended what finally protected them before the geothermal pressure reached the surface. They rode through Ashen River as evening lights flickered awake. The district looked different. Not richer, not yet, but alive. Workshops stayed open later because power was cheaper through mobile battery stations. Workers defended what finally protected them as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. Street vendors used cooperative storage. Children carried meals home from kitchens Elias had quietly subsidized. Riders in black crown jackets filled the roads. They greeted Mira. Most didn't recognize Elias that pleased him. Workers defended what finally protected them, while Mira mapped movement across every street. An emperor seen everywhere became a target. An emperor felt everywhere became a law of nature. They reached the old freight terminal near the river. Workers defended what finally protected them, and Sarah turned discipline into reliable security. It had been abandoned after a fire. The roof was collapsed. Windows were shattered. Graffiti covered the brick walls. To ordinary eyes, it was a ruin. To true valuation, it was the center of everything. Workers defended what finally protected them before Preston understood the Black Crown's real scale. The terminal stood above the future transit junction, its foundations connected to forgotten tunnels. Workers defended what finally protected them as practical abundance replaced empty luxury. Its rail access reached the industrial zone. Its river platform could handle heavy freight. Its power conduits passed near the geothermal reserve. Workers defended what finally protected them, while Rook reinforced the tunnels beneath the district. Elias had purchased it through a shell trust for almost nothing. Mira studied the building. Not yet. What will it become? A fortress. Teams emerged from the shadows. Workers defended what finally protected them, and Elias kept his identity outside the spotlight. Engineers, mechanics, former miners, construction workers blacklisted by Veil contractors. Architects whose firms had collapsed after refusing bribes. Elias had found them through the cooperative's network. Workers defended what finally protected them before the Redevelopment Council demanded his signature. They gathered around a large table inside the terminal. Plans covered its surface. Not decorative plans, war plans, reinforced storage, independent water, emergency clinics, underground farms, battery halls, server rooms, transit access, safe housing, training facilities, a commercial market protected from predatory rent. Everything designed to function even if the rest of the city failed. Workers defended what finally protected them. As the whole domain learned to function under pressure, Mira studied the drawings. You are preparing for a siege. The city is already under siege. Most people simply call it rent. A gray-haired engineer named Rook tapped the foundation plan. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. The building can survive reconstruction, but the tunnels are unstable. Elias placed one hand on the paper. The system analyzed stress lines. Reinforce the northern arch first. Ignore the eastern shaft. Rook frowned. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. That is opposite the survey. The survey is falsified. How do you know? Because the eastern shaft was sealed to hide a secondary geothermal channel. Silence spread. Rook studied him, then nodded. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress before the geothermal pressure reached the surface. He had worked long enough under arrogant heirs to recognize the difference between confidence and knowledge. Construction began that night. The cooperative moved materials through routes Veil inspectors didn't know existed. Workers were paid daily. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. Meals were provided. Families received housing priority. Productivity doubled. The terminal transformed. Broken walls became reinforced barriers. Collapsed halls became storage chambers. Old rail lines were restored. Underground rooms filled with equipment bought from bankrupt companies. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress, while Mira mapped movement across every street. Elias acquired a small security firm after discovering its owner had refused to evict elderly tenants. He hired former soldiers abandoned after service. Not the loud ones, not the decorated ones, the disciplined ones. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress, and Sarah turned discipline into reliable security. Their commander was a scarred woman named Sarah Dane. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress. Before Preston understood the Black Crown's real scale, she had lost an eye protecting a government convoy, then lost her pension when officials denied the attack occurred. Elias offered no sympathy. He offered command. "You want guards?" she asked. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress as practical abundance replaced empty luxury. "I want people who can protect infrastructure without bullying civilians. That costs more. I pay more." What happens when Veil security comes? You warn them once. And after that, Elias watched the dark tunnels. They become an example. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress, while Rook reinforced the tunnels beneath the district. Sarah accepted. The fortress gained teeth. The system recognized the expansion. Sovereign domain established. Core facility designated. New capability unlocked. Domain amplification. Assets operating within host-controlled territory gain increased efficiency, durability, and loyalty retention. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress, and Elias kept his identity outside the spotlight. The effect was immediate. Machines failed less often. Routes shortened through optimized scheduling. Food waste dropped. Construction accelerated. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress. Before the redevelopment council demanded his signature, workers who had planned to leave chose to stay. The terminal grew into a self-sufficient fortress as the whole domain learned to function under pressure. The more the district depended on Elias, the stronger his domain became. The stronger it became, the more people entered. Merchants came first, then craftsmen, then families escaping Veil-owned housing. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. Elias didn't accept everyone. True valuation examined skills, habits, debts, and risks. Thieves were rejected. Informants were watched. Useful opportunists were given narrow roles. Loyal workers received wider authority. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. No one was trusted blindly. Trust was earned in measurable acts. Mira became head of the Courier network. Rook controlled construction. Sarah controlled security. A former hospital pharmacist named Lynn managed medical supplies. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy before the geothermal pressure reached the surface. A quiet accountant named Bram tracked every coin and exposed 3 embezzlers before they could steal. Elias built no court, no banners. Yet everyone inside the terminal knew where power rested. Then the district discovered luxury. Not the vulgar luxury of Veil Tower. Practical abundance, warm apartments, reliable electricity, clean water, full kitchens, medical treatment, libraries, private rooms for workers who had slept in vehicles. Fresh food replaced stale packets. Children studied beneath lights that didn't flicker. Mechanics used new tools. Riders wore weatherproof uniforms. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. Families received dividends from cooperative profits. The transformation spread like forbidden fire. People outside Ashen River began applying to move in. Officials dismissed it as temporary charity. Influencers mocked the Black Crown as poor people playing kingdom. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, while Mira mapped movement across every street. Preston watched a viral video of riders eating in a renovated terminal and laughed. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, and Sarah turned discipline into reliable security. They built a cafeteria. Celeste sat beside him in a private lounge. On the screen, workers cheered as new housing keys were distributed. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy before Preston understood the Black Crown's real scale. Preston poured wine. Give animals a clean cage, and they call it heaven. Celeste laughed with him, but her eyes remained fixed on the background. A man crossed behind the rider's plain clothes. Cold posture, only visible for a moment, Elias. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, as practical abundance replaced empty luxury. She leaned closer. Pause it. Preston glanced at her. Why that man? The image froze. The face was blurred by movement. Preston studied it. Some worker. It looked like Elias. Preston laughed louder. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, while Rook reinforced the tunnels beneath the district. Then perhaps he found another delivery job. Celeste forced a smile. Her unease deepened. Preston had other concerns. The poison liabilities kept going multiplying. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy, and Elias kept his identity outside the spotlight. Veil accounts bled money. Construction permits stalled because underground approval was missing. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy. Before the redevelopment council demanded his signature, freight shipments arrived late because road access had changed hands. Every problem seemed unrelated. A warehouse delay, a medical dispute, a service alley purchase, a repair shortage, a tenant lawsuit. Yet all of them carried the same symbol, a black crown beneath the earth. Preston kept searching for a visible enemy as the whole domain learned to function under pressure. Preston ordered investigators to trace it. They returned with contradictory answers. A labor cooperative, a municipal trust, a chain of small property companies, a logistics platform, a repair network, no central owner, no visible leader. Only one phrase appeared repeatedly in private contracts. The ground remembers. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. Preston tore the report in half. Find the head. His investigator swallowed. We believe the network has no head. Everything has a head. Then someone is hiding it very well. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. Preston faced the skyline. The redevelopment announcement was approaching. Once it became public, Veil land would multiply in value. He only needed the underground claimant to sign access rights. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts before the geothermal pressure reached the surface. Everyone had a price. The hidden owner would appear. They always did when enough gold was placed on the table. Preston smiled again. He imagined an elderly bureaucrat, a greedy investor, a frightened rival. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. He imagined buying them, humiliating them, then taking the district completely. He never imagined the delivery worker beneath the banquet table. That same night, Elias stood on the restored roof of the freight terminal. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts while Mira mapped movement across every street. Ashen River spread below him. Black crown vehicles moved along illuminated roads. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts, and Sarah turned discipline into reliable security. Warehouses glowed. Markets stayed open. Construction cranes turned beneath the moon. Mira approached with 2 glasses. Wine, she said. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts before Preston understood the Black Crown's real scale. I do not drink while working. You never stop working. That is why I never drink. She handed him water instead. The Redevelopment Council sent another invitation. Decline. They offered private transport. Decline. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts as practical abundance replaced empty luxury. They offered a seat beside the mayor. Decline. They asked what you want. Elias watched Veil Tower in the distance. Its golden peak pierced the clouds. I want them to believe I am afraid. Mira followed his gaze. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts, while Rook reinforced the tunnels beneath the district. When will you reveal yourself? When the announcement creates maximum value, and then I buy what remains. Mira was silent for a moment. You already own half the district. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts, and Elias kept his identity outside the spotlight. No. Elias watched the roads. I own what they ignored. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts before the Redevelopment Council demanded his signature. The system opened a final panel. Ashen River dependency threshold complete. Host may initiate district consolidation after public value event. Projected outcome. Total commercial dominance. Warning. Veil Consortium has acquired a high-risk energy concession tied to the geothermal reserve. Elias remained hidden inside ordinary contracts as the whole domain learned to function under pressure. Concession contains concealed instability. Elias read the details. The Veil family believed the concession granted them exclusive drilling rights. In truth, the geothermal channel had been sealed decades ago after an underground pressure event. The geothermal concession carried the final danger, while Veil Tower continued celebrating borrowed wealth. Uncontrolled extraction could fracture the district. The government knew. The Veil Patriarch knew. Preston didn't. The concession was the grand prize. Preston planned to unveil during the redevelopment announcement. The geothermal concession carried the final danger, and every protected worker strengthened the same network. The supposed treasure was the prize Elias had deliberately allowed Preston to keep. It wasn't merely poisoned debt. It was a loaded blade pointed at the entire city. Elias's expression turned colder. The geothermal concession carried the final danger. Before the geothermal pressure reached the surface, Mira noticed. What is it? The Veil family is about to celebrate. That sounds good for us. It will be. He closed the panel. Below them, workers raised the black crown above the restored terminal. The geothermal concession carried the final danger, as the freight terminal gained another defensive layer. Not as a flag of rebellion, as proof that the Forgotten had built something no landlord could easily take. Elias watched it rise. His empire had roads, power, food, medicine, information, loyalty. Soon it would have the entire district. The geothermal concession carried the final danger, while Mira mapped movement across every street. And while Preston drank beneath chandeliers, believing he held the greatest prize in the city, the earth below his buildings was already beginning to groan. The redevelopment announcement began beneath a ceiling of glass. Every important name in the city was present: bankers, officials, developers, media owners, industrial heirs, men who had built fortunes by buying desperation, and women who wore philanthropy like perfume over rot. The Grand Hall of Veil Tower had been transformed into a shrine of gold. A scale model of Ashen River stood at the center. The celebration had become a countdown, while the glass hall still echoed with applause. The district had been remade in polished metal and white stone. No rust, no cramped apartments, no street markets, no workshops, no children running beneath freight bridges. The model showed only towers, luxury residences, private clinics, and an artificial riverwalk where poor families currently lived. The celebration had become a countdown, and the first containment seal cracked below the stage. Preston remained beside it in a black ceremonial suit. Celeste wore red. Cameras followed every movement. The mayor raised a glass. Today marks the rebirth of Ashen River. The celebration had become a countdown. Before city officials admitted the demonstration had failed, applause thundered. Preston smiled at the crowd. He hadn't slept well in days. The celebration had become a countdown as Black Crown riders entered the evacuation routes. The Black Crown network kept going, strangling Veil operations. Construction materials vanished into delays. Repair contracts doubled in price. Banks demanded clarification on environmental debts. Yet none of it mattered now. Once the geothermal concession and transit project became public, the district value would erupt. The celebration had become a countdown, while wealthy guests searched for someone else to blame. Debt would become leverage. Leverage would become conquest. Every problem could be buried beneath profit. The mayor gestured toward Preston, and now the visionary who made this possible. Preston stepped onto the stage. He waited for silence. Then he looked directly into the cameras. The celebration had become a countdown, and the hospital foundation moved closer to collapse. My family has always believed that decay is a choice. The words spread across screens throughout the city. Inside Ashen River, workers watched from restaurants, garages, dormitories, and the restored freight terminal. Mira remained beside Elias in the command room. The celebration had become a countdown before Veil Tower became the emergency pressure valve. A wall of monitors displayed pressure sensors beneath the district. Most glowed amber. Several had turned red. Preston kept going. For too long, Ashen River has been held back by laziness, crime, and outdated ownership. Boos rose from workers around the room. Elias remained still. The celebration had become a countdown as Elias aligned every road, generator, and tunnel. His attention rested on the underground readings. Pressure was climbing faster than projected. Someone had activated the drilling system early. Rook approached. The eastern channel is opening. Who authorized it? Veil engineers. They were supposed to wait until after the announcement. The celebration had become a countdown while steam ripped through the industrial blocks. They want a live demonstration. Mira studied the monitors. Can they do that? No. A deep vibration passed through the terminal floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. The workers went silent across the district. Windows rattled. Water trembled inside glasses. The celebration had become a countdown, and frightened families followed the prepared signals. Dogs began barking. On the stage, Preston smiled as a holographic display appeared above the model. The celebration had become a countdown before the final rupture reached the surface. A glowing column rose from beneath Ashen River. Our geothermal concession will provide limitless energy, he declared. Clean, cheap, controlled. The crowd applauded again. Celeste clapped proudly. The celebration had become a countdown, as one exact calculation determined who survived. Beneath the district, the first containment seal cracked. The system flashed before Elias. Critical instability detected. Subterranean pressure chain accelerating. Projected surface collapse imminent. Multiple residential blocks at risk. Hospital foundation at risk. Transit cavity breach likely. Domain emergency authority available. Elias studied Mira. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, while the glass hall still echoed with applause. Evacuate the eastern blocks. How much time? Not enough. She moved at once. Sirens sounded through Ashen River. Black-crowned riders flooded the streets. Workers knocked on doors. Children were carried from apartments. Medical teams moved patients. Sarah's security units blocked roads leading toward the unstable zone. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, and the first containment seal cracked below the stage. No one waited for official permission. The district had rehearsed emergencies for weeks. Every route had a purpose. Every warehouse held supplies. Every rider knew the nearest shelter. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech. Before city officials admitted the demonstration had failed. At Veil Tower, Preston heard the first alarm. He glanced toward his legal director. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech as Black Crown riders entered the evacuation routes. The man answered a call. His face changed. What? The director covered the receiver. There is a pressure issue beneath the eastern channel. Preston kept smiling for the cameras. Minor? We do not know. Then say minor. The director nodded. Preston resumed his speech. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, while wealthy guests searched for someone else to blame. Behind him, the holographic column flickered. A second tremor struck. This one was stronger. The scale model cracked down the center. Guests gasped. Wine spilled across white tables. Celeste grabbed Preston's arm. What is happening? He pulled free. Nothing. The tower shook again. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, and the hospital foundation moved closer to collapse. Lights dimmed. A live feed appeared on one of the media screens. A street in Ashen River split open. Steam exploded from beneath the pavement. A delivery van vanished nose first into the widening fracture. People screamed and ran. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech before Veil Tower became the emergency pressure valve. The hall erupted in panic. Reporters shouted questions. The mayor stepped away from Preston. Shut down the drilling. We are trying. The legal director admitted they were only trying. The control system is not responding. Preston seized his collar. Make it respond. Another screen activated. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech as Elias aligned every road, generator, and tunnel. St. Orson Hospital. The eastern surgical tower had begun sinking. Cracks climbed its outer walls. Patients crowded the windows. Director Halden appeared on camera, sweating and shouting for emergency support. Then the signal cut. Celeste studied Preston. You said the concession was safe. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, while steam ripped through the industrial blocks. It is. A sound like distant thunder rolled through the city. The geothermal channel ruptured. A wall of steam burst from the industrial zone. Warehouses lifted from their foundations. Steel roofs folded. Vehicles rolled across the road like toys. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, and frightened families followed the prepared signals. The wealthy guests in Veil Tower watched the district they had planned to divide begin tearing itself apart. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech before the final rupture reached the surface. Phones rang. Bankers received margin calls. Developers received loss alerts. Officials received evacuation notices. The mayor turned on Preston. You activated an unstable reserve. My engineers assured me. Pressure climbed beneath every polished speech, as one exact calculation determined who survived. Your family assured the council there was no risk. There is no risk. A giant screen displayed a residential block collapsing into a sinkhole. The mayor slapped him. The sound cut through the hall. Cameras captured everything. Preston froze. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, while the glass hall still echoed with applause. No one had struck him in public before. The mayor pointed toward the exit. You have destroyed the district. Preston's expression twisted. My family owns this city. The mayor stepped back. Those words broke the room. The powerful turned on him at once. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, and the first containment seal cracked below the stage. Investors demanded answers. Officials denied involvement. Partners claimed forged documents. Board members called emergency meetings. The same people who had praised Preston moments earlier began saving themselves. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted. Before city officials admitted the demonstration had failed, the Veil legal director attempted to leave. Preston caught him. You knew. I warned you. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted as Black Crown riders entered the evacuation routes. You said the liabilities could be contained. I said the underground rights were essential. You told me the claimant would sell. He refused every offer. Preston's face lost color. The hidden claimant. The Black Crown, the blocked roads, the denied permits. All of it converged. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, while wealthy guests searched for someone else to blame. Who was he? The director watched the screens. We still do not know. Then every display in Veil Tower went black. A single symbol appeared. The screen showed a crown beneath the earth. The hall fell silent. A voice followed. Calm male. Black crown crews moved before officials reacted, and the hospital foundation moved closer to collapse. Familiar. Evacuation routes are now active. Celeste's breath caught. Preston studied the screens. The voice continued. Civilians inside Ashen River should follow Black Crown personnel. Do not use Veil-controlled roads. Do not enter underground parking structures. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, before Veil Tower became the emergency pressure valve. Move west. Celeste whispered first. Elias. Preston faced her. What? His face hardened. No, I know his voice. The screens changed. Live feeds appeared from the district. Black Crown vehicles transported the injured. Modular power units kept shelters active. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, as Elias aligned every road, generator, and tunnel. Medical teams treated workers. Reinforced tunnels guided civilians away from collapsing streets. The restored freight terminal remained standing at the center of the chaos, bright and unbroken. The district wasn't merely surviving. It was responding like a single organism. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, while steam ripped through the industrial blocks. Aerial footage showed organized evacuation lines moving with impossible speed. The city's official emergency services hadn't even entered. The poor had saved themselves before the rich finished assigning blame. At the terminal, Elias faced the domain control map. Pressure surged beneath St. Orson Hospital. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, and frightened families followed the prepared signals. His mother was still inside. We can stabilize the freight terminal or the hospital. Both. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, before the final rupture reached the surface. The system cannot redirect enough load. Then open the northern channel. Rook studied him. That will send the pressure beneath Veil Tower. Elias watched the glowing structure on the map. Black Crown crews moved before officials reacted, as one exact calculation determined who survived. The tower stood above an old foundation shaft connected to the geothermal reserve. Preston's family had built it there for prestige. They had assumed underground ownership would eventually belong to them. Now their monument had become a pressure valve. Open it. Rook hesitated. People are inside. Evacuate. The district survived because it had rehearsed, while the glass hall still echoed with applause. Elias's eyes remained cold. They chose the view. Mira transmitted the order. Inside Veil Tower, alarms screamed. Emergency lights turned red. A message appeared across every screen. Structural failure imminent. Evacuate immediately. The wealthy shoes were lost. Jewelry scattered. Men shoved women aside. Officials trampled assistants. The district survived because it had rehearsed, and the first containment seal cracked below the stage. Security guards abandoned posts. The grand hall dissolved into animal panic. Preston refused to move. This is a trick. Celeste pulled his arm. The tower is shaking. He wants us afraid. The district survived because it had rehearsed, before city officials admitted the demonstration had failed. Who? Preston studied the Black Crown, the delivery dog. Celeste studied him. Understanding arrived slowly. The district survived because it had rehearsed, as Black Crown riders entered the evacuation routes. Then all at once, the hidden auction, the poisoned contract, the underground rights, the cooperative, the transformed district. Elias hadn't been broken beneath the banquet table. He had been watching them, using them, waiting. Her fingers went cold. He bought Ashen River, pressed, and struck her. The district survived because it had rehearsed, while wealthy guests searched for someone else to blame. The blow threw her against the model. Do not say that. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. She studied him with stunned hatred. Another tremor ripped through the tower. Glass panels shattered. The miniature district collapsed around her. Preston backed away. No delivery worker buys a district. The district survived because it had rehearsed, and the hospital foundation moved closer to collapse. The legal director spoke from the floor. He didn't buy the buildings. Preston turned. He bought everything the buildings need. The tower groaned. Steel screamed inside the walls. At the freight terminal, Elias placed both hands on the control console. Domain amplification. The district survived because it had rehearsed, before Veil Tower became the emergency pressure valve. Emergency consolidation. All district assets aligned. Power stations redirected energy. Water systems increased pressure. Tunnel gates closed. Support pillars locked. Repair crews moved toward designated failure points. The Black Crown network became one machine. Elias felt every asset respond. The district survived because it had rehearsed, as Elias aligned every road, generator, and tunnel. Every road, every vehicle, every warehouse, every generator, every worker who trusted the signal. The district became his body. The geothermal surge became an enemy trapped beneath his skin. Redirect west. Seal south. Vent through the abandoned shafts. Absorb pressure beneath the industrial ruins. The district survived because it had rehearsed, while steam ripped through the industrial blocks. The system warned him. Host physical load exceeding threshold. Elias refused to acknowledge it. Blood ran from his nose. The command room blurred. Mira grabbed his arm. You are collapsing. Keep the routes open. You cannot hold the entire district. The district survived because it had rehearsed, and frightened families followed the prepared signals. Elias smiled faintly. I bought it. Then he drove the pressure upward. The district survived because it had rehearsed. Before the final rupture reached the surface, Ashen River convulsed. A column of white steam exploded beside Veil Tower. The street around its foundation split. The golden structure tilted. Guests poured from its entrances in screaming waves. The district survived because it had rehearsed, as one exact calculation determined who survived. Preston finally ran. He dragged Celeste behind him until she fell. Then he released her. She stared after him. The man she had chosen for security didn't look back once. A support beam crashed across the exit. Celeste crawled beneath smoke and shattered glass. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve, while the glass hall still echoed with applause. Her red dress tore. Her diamond necklace snapped. Gemstones scattered across the floor. She reached for them instinctively. Then another beam fell. She abandoned the diamonds and crawled into the street. Outside, Preston stood among ruined guests. His suit was torn. Blood marked his forehead. Cameras surrounded him. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve, and the first containment seal cracked below the stage. Reporters demanded answers. One screen on a nearby building showed Elias entering the eastern fracture zone. He wore a black coat over a plain shirt. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve before city officials admitted the demonstration had failed. No jewels, no guards at his side, only steam fire in a district waiting for his command. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve as Black Crown riders entered the evacuation routes. Preston stared. For the first time, he saw the man he had ordered to crawl. Not the soaked delivery worker, not the abandoned fiancé, not the poor fool with impossible dreams, a ruler. Elias approached the largest rupture. The ground shook beneath him. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve, while wealthy guests searched for someone else to blame. A pressure beast of steam and molten stone erupted from the fracture, shaped by collapsing pipes and burning gas into something monstrous. People fled. Veil engineers abandoned their equipment. Emergency crews froze. Elias kept going forward. The system displayed the final instability point. One strike, one exact point. He lifted his hand. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve, and the hospital foundation moved closer to collapse. Domain authority gathered through every underground support line. The force of the district compressed into his palm. He brought it down. The earth roared. The rupture collapsed inward. Steam vanished. Fire died. The monstrous pressure wave shattered beneath a single calculated blow. Silence fell across Ashen River. Preston's monument became the only pressure valve, before Veil Tower became the emergency pressure valve. Then the remaining buildings stopped shaking. St. Orson Hospital stabilized. The freight terminal stood. The shelters remained powered. The city watched a man once mocked for carrying dinner crush a catastrophe that billionaires had created and officials couldn't stop. Mira approached through the steam. Blood covered Elias's hand. He watched Veil Tower. Preston stood behind a barricade, trembling. Their eyes met across the ruined avenue. Preston's mouth opened. No words came. Elias slowly removed the old golden token from his pocket. The same token Preston had thrown beneath the banquet table. He held it between two fingers, then let it fall into the mud. Preston watched the token in disbelief. The crowd followed his gaze. Elias spoke quietly, yet every nearby camera captured the words, "Fetch." Preston's knees weakened around him. The city started to understand. The arrogant heir hadn't built Ashen River's future. He had nearly buried it. The poor delivery man had bought the ground, saved the people, and broken the disaster with one hand. The laughter that once belonged to Preston now rose from thousands of throats. Not joyful, merciless. The kind of laughter reserved for a man who had spent his whole life standing above others and had finally discovered the ground no longer belonged to him. The city didn't sleep that night. Sirens bled through Ashen River until dawn. News helicopters circled above the fractured streets. Emergency crews arrived after the danger had passed and at once began posing for cameras. Officials faced microphones and praised coordination they had never provided. Bankers denied knowledge. Developers blamed engineers. Engineers blamed sealed reports. The cameras captured the complete reversal, while the city replayed the hotel footage. The mayor announced an investigation with the solemn face of a man already searching for someone weaker to sacrifice. But every screen showed the same images. Veil Tower leaning above a broken foundation, Preston Veil running while civilians screamed behind him, Celeste Arden crawling through shattered glass, and Elias Vain standing before a collapsed geothermal rupture with blood on his hand and steam curling around his shoulders. The delivery worker, the poor dog, the man beneath the table. By sunrise, the laughter had changed direction. Old clips from the Housian Crown Hotel spread beside footage from Ashen River. Preston ordering Elias to fetch. Celeste saying some people were born to carry dinner. The hotel manager kicking him down the steps. Then Elias saving the district. Then the golden token falling into the mud. Then one quiet word fetch. The city devoured the humiliation. The same influencers who had mocked Elias now praised his restraint. The same commentators who called him unstable now described him as a hidden genius. The same newspapers that celebrated Preston's charity replaced his face with headlines about corruption, illegal drilling, poisoned contracts, and mass endangerment. Elias ignored all of it. He stood inside St. Orson beside his mother's bed. The building had survived barely. Cracks ran across the walls. Temporary supports filled the corridor. Patients had been moved into reinforced wings. His mother slept through the final tremors. Her breathing was stronger now. Director Halden waited at the door. His silver hair was disordered. His expensive suit carried dust. The softness had vanished from his voice. Mr. Vain didn't turn. Halden swallowed. The board has requested a meeting. No, they want to express gratitude. No, they also wish to discuss the hospital's future access rights. Elias adjusted the blanket over his mother's shoulder. Now you are honest. Halden lowered his eyes. We made mistakes. You sold her treatment to Preston. The foundation pressured us. You accepted. I was protecting the hospital. You were protecting your chair. Halden flinched outside the room. Nurses pretended not to listen. Elias finally faced him. The eastern tower sits above my ground. Halden's lips trembled. We understand. The parking structure crosses my thermal corridor. Yes, the surgical wing lacks valid foundation rights. Elias stepped closer. Halden seemed to shrink with every word. You told me I had no leverage. The director's face turned gray. Elias remembered the crystal glass, the pitying smile, the contract waiting beside the pen. Halden had warned that pride would kill her. Halden had said it as if poverty were a moral disease. Now his entire hospital existed at Elias's tolerance. Halden bowed. Not deeply enough. Elias studied him until the man bent farther. To whom? Halden glanced toward the bed. To your mother. She cannot hear you. I will apologize again when she wakes. No. Elias walked past him. You will resign. Halden looked up. Mr. Vain, please. My career. The board will never. The board occupies a building I can legally condemn before noon. Halden's knees weakened. Elias stopped at the doorway. Leave before I decide resignation is too generous. The director stumbled away. No forgiveness. No speech. No redemption. Only removal. By midday, the city's courts had frozen Veil Consortium accounts. Not because justice had awakened. Because Elias had released evidence through the Black Crown Network. Bribery payments, illegal foundation transfers, false environmental reports, fabricated inspections, the poisoned assignment contract, every signature, every account. Every official who had taken money to clear Ashen River for luxury development. The evidence spread through several jurisdictions at once. No single judge could bury it. No single politician could contain it. Veil stock collapsed. Banks called loans early. Partners fled. Shell companies turned on one another. The empire began eating itself. Preston spent the morning inside a private residence under armed guard. By afternoon, the guards left when their payments failed. He called his father. No answer. He called the legal director. The number was disconnected. He called board members. They cursed him. He called the mayor. The mayor's assistant threatened arrest. At last, Preston called Celeste. She answered after a long silence. "Where are you?" Her voice sounded empty. "At my apartment." "Come here now." Preston studied the dark screen of his office wall. "What did you say?" "I said no." His hand tightened around the phone. "You belong with me." Celeste laughed. It wasn't warm. It was the broken laugh of someone finally seeing the price tag attached to every luxury she had worked. "You left me beneath the tower. There was a collapse. You dropped my hand. I was trying to survive. So was I." Preston lowered his voice. "We can still fix this. Elias wants revenge. You know him. Talk to him." Celeste closed her eyes. She remembered Elias working through winter nights. She remembered him bringing food to her apartment after long shifts. She remembered the ring he bought with saved coins. She remembered returning it in a paper envelope. She remembered inviting him to the hotel. She remembered smiling while he knelt. "He will not listen to me." "Make him how?" Preston's voice became sharp. "You were with him for years, cry. Apologize. Tell him you love him." Men like him are pathetic. They remember scraps of affection forever. Celeste studied herself in the mirror. A bruise darkened her cheek where Preston had struck her. Cuts crossed her arms. The diamond necklace was gone. Without the silver dress in the cameras, she looked ordinary. Worse than ordinary. "Afraid? You still think he is pathetic?" She whispered. "He carried food for strangers. He owns the district. He cheated. He saved it." Preston screamed. "Do not defend him." Celeste ended the call. That evening, she entered Ashen River alone. The roads she once called filthy were crowded with black-crowned workers rebuilding damaged blocks. Food stations served families. Medical tents treated the injured. Temporary homes stood where Veil contractors had planned eviction zones. No one welcomed her. People recognized her face. Whispers followed. The woman in red. The traitor. The one who laughed. She found Elias at the restored freight terminal. He stood above a long table reviewing reconstruction maps with Mira, Rook, Sarah, and several district leaders. Celeste waited outside the room. Hours passed. No one offered her a chair. No one offered water. At last, the others left. Elias remained. He didn't look surprised to see her. Celeste stepped inside. Her carefully prepared words disappeared. The room felt too large. Elias seemed too calm. She had imagined anger. Anger could be answered. She had imagined bitterness. Bitterness still wanted something. His eyes held neither. They held absence. She approached slowly. "Elias." He continued reading. "I came to apologize. I was wrong." He turned a page. Celeste's throat tightened. "I should finally looked up." "No." Hope flickered in her face. "No, you should have left." She stared. He closed the folder. "You revealed your value before I spent more years overpaying." Pain crossed her expression. "I loved you. You loved my potential." "That is not true. You stayed while you thought I might rise. You left when the fall became public." Tears gathered in her eyes. This time was scared. "So was my mother." Celeste lowered her head. "I made terrible choices. They weren't profitable. Only because Preston lost." The truth struck harder than accusation. Celeste's knees touched the floor. Elias watched without emotion. She crawled closer. The same woman who had stood beneath golden lights while he knelt now dragged herself across concrete. "Please." Elias remained seated. "I have nowhere to go. You have the life you selected. Preston used me. You used each other. I was weak. You were cruel." Celeste claimed she could change. "That has no value to me." She reached toward his hand. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Celeste froze before touching him. Elias didn't need guards nearby. They came because the domain itself reacted to threats. Celeste began crying harder. "I know you still remember us. I remember everything. The nights we studied together. Yes. The promises. Yes. My father's old apartment. The cheap noodles. The rooftop where you gave me the ring. Yes." Her voice cracked. "Then how can you feel nothing?" Elias leaned back. "Because memories are not debts." Celeste bowed until her forehead touched the floor. "Please forgive me." He looked down at her, then repeated the words she had spoken beneath the hotel awning. "Certain people are supposedly born to own cities." Her body shook. "Everyone else is supposedly born to deliver their dinner." She covered her face. Elias's voice remained quiet. "You taught me where I belonged." Celeste sobbed. "Give me one chance." "No, let me work here." "No, I will do anything." That sentence has always been your profession. She recoiled as if struck. Elias stood. You may leave where? That is not my concern. She grabbed the edge of his coat. Sarah moved. Elias raised one finger. Celeste clung tighter. Do not send me away. Elias studied her hand. She released him at once. I am not sending you anywhere, he said. I am simply refusing to carry you. He walked past her. Celeste remained kneeling long after the room emptied. Preston arrived the next morning. Not in a convoy, not beneath an umbrella. He came in a borrowed car that failed near the western gate. He walked the rest of the way through rain. His black coat was wrinkled. His watch was gone. His face carried the gray exhaustion of a man whose servants had stopped answering. People recognized him. No one attacked. They did something worse. They laughed. Mechanics paused their work. Riders lifted their phones. Vendors whispered fetch as he passed. Every repetition stripped another layer from him. By the time he reached the freight terminal, he was shaking. Sarah blocked the entrance. I need to see Elias. No, I am Preston Veil. No, I have business with him. You have no business left. He tried to push past. Sarah placed one hand against his chest and sent him backward into the mud. The crowd laughed louder. Preston looked around wildly. You think he cares about you? You are tools. He uses all of you. Mira stepped from the entrance. He pays his tools. Preston's face twisted. Tell him I can offer the Veil name. Mira stared. Your name is currently a liability. I can offer political contacts. Most are under investigation. I have foreign accounts. Frozen. Preston tried to speak. Nothing remained. At last, Elias appeared above the terminal steps. He wore a dark coat. No gold. No visible sign of wealth. Yet the entire courtyard fell silent when he arrived. Preston looked up for a moment. Hatred restored his posture. You planned this. Elias descended one step. You made planning unnecessary. You stole my district. You never owned it. My family built this city. Your family mortgaged it. Preston climbed toward him. Sarah moved aside at Elias's signal. The air stopped several steps below. Still lower. Always lower now. You used the auction token. Yes. You trapped the foundation contract. Yes. You activated those liabilities. Yes. You knew the concession was unstable. Yes. Preston's lips trembled. You let me drill. I warned the council through ownership notices. You knew I would ignore them. Elias remained completely silent. That silence was confession enough. Preston laughed weakly. You are no better than me. Elias's expression never softened. I never claimed to be. You risked the district. I prepared the district. You wanted people to suffer so they would worship you. I wanted you to reveal every corrupt partner while believing victory was guaranteed. Preston stared. The banquet, the contract, the announcement, the drilling ceremony. Every moment of triumph had been a corridor Elias allowed him to enter. At the end, waited a locked door. Preston's anger collapsed. He dropped to his knees. The crowd became still. Rain soaked his hair, mud stained his trousers. He looked smaller than Elias remembered. Save the consortium. No, you can take control. I already did. My father will give you the board. Your father fled before dawn. My shares worthless. My properties foreclosed. Preston crawled up one step. Then save me. Elias looked down. Preston's face twisted with terror. They will arrest me. Yes, they will kill us in prison. Possibly. I was cruel, but I never meant for anyone to die. You activated the drill. My engineers said you ordered them to lie. Preston's forehead touched the whetstone. I apologize. Elias heard the echo of the fetch. Good dog poverty is proof of inferiority. He crouched. Preston raised his head, hope bursting across his ruined face. Elias spoke softly. You should be grateful. Preston froze. At least the district survived your generosity. The crowd murmured. Elias kept going. Poverty was never simple misfortune. He had called it evidence of inferiority. Those were his words. Returned without mercy, Elias stood. Preston grabbed his shoe. Please. Elias studied the hand. Preston released it and pressed both palms to the ground. I will serve you. You are not useful. I know people. They abandoned you. I know secrets. The system knows more. Preston insisted he could change. Elias walked away without answering. Preston screamed. Celeste said you were weak. Elias stopped. She told me everything. She laughed at you before the banquet. She planned the delivery order. She wanted to watch you crawl. Celeste stood near the courtyard entrance. Her face went white. She had returned without knowing Preston would come. The two saw each other. Hatred replaced fear. She chose this. Celeste shouted back. You ordered it. You begged me to humiliate him. You promised to protect me. You were sleeping with another investor. You hit me. You used me. They lunged at each other. Sarah didn't intervene. The crowd watched them tear away the last masks. Celeste clawed Preston's face. Preston threw her into the mud. She seized a broken stone. He kicked her hand. They screamed accusations, affairs, lies, hidden accounts, forged signatures, and private betrayals before dozens of cameras. The perfect couple of the Golden Hall became two starving animals fighting over the corpse of a vanished life. Elias watched for a moment, then walked inside. Their despair required no assistance. By sunset, investigators took Preston away in restraints. He screamed Elias's name until the vehicle doors closed. Celeste remained outside the terminal. No one offered shelter. She left Ashen River on foot. Months later, Preston died alone inside a prison medical wing after former partners refused to fund his protection. The official report called it an accident. No family claimed the body. Celeste survived. That was worse. Luxury circles rejected her. Employers recognized her. Old patrons ignored her. She moved through cheap rooms and temporary work, haunted by screens that replayed the night she laughed at a kneeling delivery man. Sometimes she delivered meals. Customers rarely studied her face. When they did, some recognized it. Then they smiled. Ashen River rose. Not as the polished graveyard shown in the Veil model. Its workshops remained. Its markets expanded. Its workers held shares. Its towers grew above reinforced foundations controlled by the Black Crown. St. Orson Hospital became a public medical trust. Director Halden's name vanished from the walls. The freight terminal became the heart of the district. Roads, power, food, medicine, transport, and housing all moved through a system no heir could purchase with a single signature. Elias's mother recovered gradually. One evening, she remained beside him on the terminal roof. Below them, lights spread across the district like stars dragged down to earth. She studied the Black Crown flying above the streets. You said you were still making deliveries. Elias handed her a cup of tea. I am. What are you delivering now? He watched the skyline. Veil Tower had been dismantled. In its place stood a public transit station bearing no family name. Consequences. His mother shook her head, though a faint smile touched her lips. The city called Elias many things: tycoon, sovereign investor, shadow mayor, Lord of Ashen River. He accepted none of them. Titles were decorations. Ownership was real. Memory was real. The ground beneath every tower was real. Years later, when new heirs laughed at workers carrying food through marble halls, older executives silenced them with a glance. They remembered Preston Veil. They remembered the broken tower. They remembered the district bought from beneath its owners. And they remembered the poor delivery man who had knelt once, not because he was weak, but because the best place to find the foundation of an empire was always beneath the table. Elias never preached about justice. Justice arrived late and demanded applause. He preferred contracts. Contracts arrived quietly. They remembered every signature. They waited without anger. Then, when the arrogant finally stood at the highest point of their borrowed world, the ground simply withdrew its permission.